Welcome to the Excellence in Leadership Awards Ceremony. I'm Lana Reynolds, the Chair of Leadership Oklahoma's Board of Directors and a member of LOK Class 17. Each year we honor 4 state leaders at our annual gala, but as you can see, we're doing things a little differently. You've probably been asked the question, either during a job interview or in discussion among friends and family, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, for those of us who answered that question in 2015, none of us got it right. We are all living through unbelievable times right now, and because of the uncertainty, the increase in pandemic numbers, and trying to do the next right thing, Leadership Oklahoma made the difficult decision to celebrate our wonderful honorees virtually. You will have the opportunity to view each of the videos we typically show during the gala. Then you will hear pre-recorded remarks from each of the honorees. I would like to thank our gala co-chairs, Robin and Brad Krieger and Rose Washington. Along with our honorees, they have done a great job being flexible and making this event just as memorable as what we do with our events in person. Leadership Oklahoma is a thriving network of almost 1,700 strong from across the state of Oklahoma, and some now living outside the state. Much is asked of us during tough times. We need to be smart, patient, and kind, and we need strong, reliable, informed, and caring leaders. Serving others is leadership in action. Thank you for what you do for your families, your communities, and our state. On behalf of the LOK Board of Directors, Gala co-chairs, and staff, congratulations to all our deserving honorees. They lead by example and have truly exemplified excellence in leadership. Enjoy the show.
Hello, I'm Rose Washington, and I am honored to co-chair the gala this year with Robin and Brad Krieger. You will be seeing them a little later, I promise. As a member of Class 24, of course the best class ever, Leadership Oklahoma has played a wonderful part in my life's journey. The experience was more than I could ever have imagined, and I rely on my LOK network constantly. You don't have to look far to see leaders across Oklahoma making this state a better place to live and work. And during these uncertain times that we're all experiencing today, now is no different. We are privileged to honor some outstanding people and organizations, many of which we know very well. Their contributions to the state continue as we navigate through this pandemic. I would be remiss if I didn't say that honestly, their leadership during the pandemic has shone brighter than ever before. Since 1999, Leadership Oklahoma has annually honored 4 individuals or groups for their steadfast commitment to using their leadership abilities to improve the quality of life of all Oklahomans and future generations. Although we have pivoted and cannot meet in person this year, your attendance virtually by watching this video helps us to recognize, thank, and celebrate 4 remarkable honorees. We would like to take a moment first, however, to thank Leadership Oklahoma's multi-year donors and gala event sponsors. On behalf of LOK, we appreciate you and we are thankful for your generous support.
Thanks, Rose. I'm Robin Roberts Krieger and also a member of Leadership Oklahoma's Class 24. When Brad and I agreed to co-chair the gala with Rose, we never envisioned the need to record our comments and that we'd be living in the midst of a global pandemic, but this is our reality today. As mentioned earlier, Leadership Oklahoma honors our state's leadership with the Excellence in Leadership Gala and Awards ceremony each year. The award was originally designed and created by Marilyn and Danny Adams of Dragonfly Design. The awards are inspired by the philosophy of training today's talented leaders to become even more effective and powerful as leaders for the future. The upright shapes represent the individuals striving to benefit our neighborhoods, city, and state. The background with its flowing horizontal lines represents the many different levels of society that can benefit. Each award is slightly different, as each individual is different, and yet all are part of the greater whole. Sadly, the state lost Marilyn in November of 2015. This year, we partnered with Tracy and Rick Bewley, owners of Art Fusion Studio in Oklahoma City, to create this remarkable handcrafted award while still honoring their original inspiration.
I'm Brad Krieger, member of LOK Class 25, the best class ever. For those of you who have gone through the program, you can understand the interesting discussions Robin and I have had as to who has the best class ever. Not unlike what we learned during the program, we just sometimes have to agree to disagree. But I might remind all that Class 25 started the conga line at Eskimo Joe's, along with Stan, and that is leadership. A list of our past award honorees will be shown during the video. We would like to recognize them for all that they do for our great state. Your leadership and impact are profound. May each of us lead by example in our own way and when we have the opportunity. We are better together and more alike than different in the end. When we come together, we can change the world, and there is much change that is needed. We have the DNA to impact our community and state, and those we honor this year had the courage to act and make a difference. Arvest Bank was a recipient of the Business Leadership Award a few years ago, and we were honored to be recognized for what we do to exhibit leadership within the organization and what we do to give back to our community. These awards, while humbling, mean a great deal.
The Business Leadership Award was created to recognize a business entity for its impact in promoting leadership principles and practices, implementing programs worthy of example, and fostering growth of quality leadership. The McNellie's Group made its mark when Elliot Nelson, the company's CEO and founder, opened his first location in a lonely and desolate area of downtown Tulsa in March 2004. The vision he saw, although risky, proved to be the right decision. The area wasn't growing as fast as Elliot had hoped, and instead of waiting for others to build up the neighborhood, he set out to build it himself, which is why McNellie's Group has so many different concepts under their brand. It has been at the forefront of the revitalization of Tulsa's downtown, including Brady and Blue Dome districts. Now the organization has grown to 10 restaurant concepts in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and Little Rock. With an employee base of more than 800, the economic impact is significant, but the leadership, energy, and forward-thinking approach of McNellie's Group has played a huge role in Tulsa's downtown revitalization. Today, Elliot Nelson oversees strategy, finances, community relations, and key day-to-day decisions for the company. McNellie's generously and frequently donates to nonprofit fundraising events and has a great reputation for its support of the community. Leadership within the organization is a team effort. They continue to grow, to build, and to create opportunities for those who have been loyal over the years and who have guided them through their inexperience. They focus on keeping talented people and being true to their loyalty. Elliot is a fourth-generation Tulsan. In addition to his role as CEO and founder of the McNellie's Group, Elliot has chaired Tulsa's Economic Development Commission and Tulsa's Downtown Coordinating Council. Currently, he is on the board of directors for the Oklahoma Restaurant Association and the YMCA of Tulsa. His other accomplishments include being named Tulsa's Entrepreneur of the Year, a Red Cross Everyday Hero, a Typros Boomtown Award recipient for his efforts revitalizing downtown Tulsa, and Urban Tulsa's Business Leader of the Year. Building communities is the driving force of Elliott Nelson and the McNellie's Group, as you will see in this video.
We started these buildings that were run down and hadn't been in use for years. I mean, the pub in Oklahoma City had been vacant for 40 years. That Plaza Court building had been vacant for, well, I think it was 20, something like that. So, you know, I think most people see those things like, ugh, why would you do this, right? But for me, it's part passion, but part like finding an old building, the way those buildings were constructed, and it's impossible to replicate. And so they have a soul to them, right? And that matters to a pub. Generally speaking, we'll pick a new project and do something because we feel that something is lacking in a market and that a neighborhood needs something, and it will be accretive to everything else going on. We generally don't want to build a restaurant that mirrors what someone else is doing. So everything we do, we try to do through a lens of, you know, will this make that neighborhood better? Will this make that a better place to live? And if the answer is yes, then that's kind of our hurdle to get over to go do something. I'm a lifelong Tulsan, fourth generation, and really care deeply about my hometown, but I also care a lot about my state, right? And when I was in high school, I was the student council president for the state of Oklahoma, so traveled around a lot with that, met a lot of people, made a lot of friends from around the state. One of my best friends was David Holt, who's the mayor in Oklahoma City, and you know, we were groomsmen in each other's weddings, so we've been friends forever. And I think David and I always had this kind of banter back and forth about the two cities, but I think he and I both saw this world where Oklahoma, we didn't feel like, you know, maybe garnered the respect it should. We thought, you know, for us, Oklahoma's a great place to live, right? And these are great cities. So for me, you know, when we opened down here in Tulsa, it was about making Tulsa a better place to live and picking a location where we felt like we were making a difference. And then we tried to do the same thing in Oklahoma City. So when we signed the lease on that Plaza Court building, man, it was boarded up. It was the old VZD drugstore. All the drugstore fixtures were still in place the first time I looked at it. But I saw something that I was like, man, this makes sense, right? It's on the edge of downtown, on the edge of a great old neighborhood. It needs to be a pub, right? Like this neighborhood needs a pub. So for me, it's always been about trying to make cities a better place to live and neighborhoods better. And they used to have this kind of adage, you know, every neighborhood needs a pub, which is probably a little more Irish than it is Oklahoman, right? I don't know that Oklahomans agree with that all the time, but yeah, so I think for me, it's whatever we can do to try to make this state better and a better place to live, we're going to do it. You know, I think we do some different stuff, maybe some other people in our industry. I mean, we try to offer insurance to anybody that works, you know, over 28 hours a week, and we offer a 401k to people and try to take these service industry jobs and make them good jobs, right? Not just good service industry jobs, but just good jobs, period.
When the Affordable Care Act came out, we adopted that a year and a half ahead of schedule. We didn't have to legally do it when we did it, but Elliott said this is really important. Our employees need to have access to health insurance. And it was a lot of money and effort and bureaucracy to make it happen, but he knew it was the right thing to do, and our employees were very appreciative of that, because sometimes in our industry, it is not viewed as something where, why would you give health insurance? That's not a real career. But Elliott has a completely different perspective on that. Say what we do is very important within the communities, and treating the jobs in the service industry like a career, he believes will make them, you know, is not only important for our employees, but for the communities. Employees not only appreciate it, but long term, it's probably paid dividends because of from an employee retention perspective. They realize if I leave McNellie's group and go somewhere else, I might not have access to health insurance. So I think that's an example of Elliott's generosity and is trying to put employees first.
The retention that we have with our employees, the amount of people that have stuck around here for year after year, and the loyalty that we exhibit amongst ourselves, our team, commitment to one another, is unlike anything I've ever seen in the industry. Everybody likes to say, oh, well, our team is a family, but here it very much really is. Not just McNellie's group as a whole, but each store itself really has its own personality and culture that Elliott has, from day one, encouraged. Everybody has a lot of autonomy.
We have a lot of people that do this as a career, that are passionate about it and love serving people every day and enjoy coming to work. And so we try to honor that, right, by making these good quality jobs that are going to last. And so I think that's maybe part of it, is that we try to be at the forefront of the service industry and how people get treated and what it's like to be a responsible employer, no matter what your industry is.
The leadership style is very much, we support you, we encourage you, and we want to hear what you have to say. We know that the boots on the ground who are out there every day in the trenches are where the best ideas come from. So supporting and encouraging growth at that level does nothing but solidify buy-in.
Part of why we got into this stuff was to make Tulsa and Oklahoma City and the state just a better place to live. And for us to win, it doesn't mean somebody else has to lose, right? It's, we always need to do our job to make sure that we're the best we can possibly be and to try and stay ahead of everyone, stay successful. But if there are other successful operators and businesses in our space, that's good for us and it's good for the state. And hopefully long term it means more people are moving here and the populations grow. And so I think for me, it's just always been whatever we can do to help our industry get better and help more people be successful, we're usually willing to do. We never set out to do any of this stuff to win awards, right? And so it's always an honor and humbling to be recognized by the people who are out kind of trying to push the state forward and just to be recognized for the stuff we're doing every day, just I think because we feel compelled to do it. I mean, for me, it's to be recognized, I think, for doing that work that you feel compelled to do no matter what the outcomes is always nice. And it's an honor, but my purpose in life is to try and make Tulsa and Oklahoma a better place to live. That's why I feel like I'm here. And so we're not getting up every day trying to win awards. We're just getting up every day trying to do what we can to make these places better. And so we say we're employee first, right? And the idea being that if we really take care of our employees, then they will in turn really take care of our customers.
He's exceptionally generous. He will go out of his way to make sure his employees are taken care of. He's done so many things over the years if an employee is in a tough spot, to make sure that they have the money to make it through a tough time, or access to a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it may be. He is willing to make sure his employees are taken care of. And Elliott's always had the mindset that our employees are number one priority. Some people would think in our industry that's based on service, it's our customers, but his philosophy is if our employees aren't our number one priority, they're never going to take care of our customers well. So he's always said, if we take care of our employees, our customers will then be taken care of also.
And we get a lot of feedback that usually that works, right? Not always, but.
From when I joined Elliott, we had 4.5 restaurants. Now we're up close to 21. So over those years, we've seen a lot of different things, but the number one thing has always been support our employees. And our key executive group has been the same for 12 years. We've had very little turnover within our salaried workforce, much less than the industry standard, and I think that's because people realize that Elliott's not only dedication to them, but to our communities.
The things that I'm most proud of is the effect we've had on these two cities. Going into the Plaza Court building in Oklahoma City and doing what we did in the Blue Dome District here and doing it early and taking those chances and making those investments to try and better some places that have now surpassed us and way exceeded anything we thought we could accomplish. I think that's the stuff I'm most proud of. Is we were kind of at the forefront of revitalizing neighborhoods, and that's long term for me. I think those are the things I'll look back on and say, that was worth doing. And I think there are certain restaurants that I always love. I mean, the original bar at McNellie's in downtown Tulsa. I mean, that first floor. I could be there every day and be happy. I don't, but I think it's the community building that's probably the most rewarding.
This year's Business Leadership Award goes to McNellie's Group. Here to accept the award is my friend Elliott Nelson.
Thanks, Rose. We're honored to receive this award. I should say, though, that everything we do at McNellie's Group is never with awards in mind or recognition. I think a lot of what we do is just what we're compelled to. Our company mission is to every day make our state and our cities a better place to live, and we wake up trying to do that. And so while it's nice to be recognized for it, it's certainly the recognition is not what drives us. What drives us is a constant need to try and make this state a better place to live. And anytime I receive an award, it's on behalf of hundreds of really hardworking individuals. I don't do these things alone. It's not just me. Without my staff and without the people dedicated every day to coming to work and working towards that mission, none of these things happen. So I'm grateful to receive this. Our company is grateful, but I receive this on behalf of hundreds of people who show up and do the really hard work every day, and on behalf of them, thank you.
The 2020 Excellence in Leadership Gala continues with Statewide Community, Distinguished Graduate, and Lifetime Achievement. Don't go away.
The Statewide Community Award recognizes an organization or company that through specific projects or efforts has reached across our value differences to develop among Oklahomans a keen sense of common purpose and a more profound sense of loyalty to our state. This award has been created to promote a heightened sense of appreciation for the possibilities available when Oklahomans work together as a single statewide community. In recent years, the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma embarked upon and has now executed an effort to invest in, partner, and lead construction for funding for what is the country's largest tribal healthcare facility in Tahlequah. The Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma has invested more than $200 million in the healthcare facility, and via its partnership with the Indian Health Services, will operate the facility on an annual basis, generating approximately $100 million of annual revenue. The advent of this healthcare facility has resulted in the first ever tribal specialized medical school in the United States. Oklahoma State University has undertaken the academic rigors of such a medical school partnership and opening a medical school in Tahlequah. Eligible citizens are not just Cherokees. Any tribe is eligible for care. The establishment of this partnership is the culmination of years of work and is part of a steadfast commitment of improving healthcare in rural and American Indian communities. Recruiting primary care physicians to practice in rural Oklahoma and the Cherokee Nation's jurisdiction is a constant challenge. Oklahoma State University's Center for Health Sciences mission is to populate rural Oklahoma with doctors from rural Oklahoma. That mission will create healthier families and communities in Northeast Oklahoma and improve the lives of rural and Native citizens for generations to come. The scope of job and scholastic opportunities for all Oklahomans has now expanded to seemingly an unquantifiable threshold thanks to the economic and academic impact of the Cherokee Nation's investment. Tremendous growth is in the future for the Cherokee Nation. Tahlequah won't soon seem so isolated in a few short years. In the following video, you'll see and hear just how dedicated the Cherokee Nation is to their community.
The Cherokee Nation is the largest tribe in the United States, and of course that makes it the largest tribe in Oklahoma. We have a large health system with over 1 million patient visits. Over the last decade, we've been expanding the infrastructure of our healthcare system. So if you go across northeast Oklahoma, you see really all new healthcare facilities, about 10 facilities. The great partnership, though, that we struck in Tahlequah to make, I think, healthcare better for us was the joint venture healthcare facility, largest in the United States, outpatient center. But the thing that I think excites us more than anything, and I think that is exciting people across the state, is what we've done with Oklahoma State University to create the first medical school in Indian country.
Well, so we just took our first class and they just started school. So we had our very first white coat ceremony in August. It was unfortunate that we're in the middle of a pandemic because it was a very historic moment.
Today, you're helping us make history. You are the inaugural class of the nation's first tribally affiliated medical school.
This really started under the previous administration, but I had the good fortune to work for Chief Bill John Baker, and he had a vision for improving health care for the Cherokee people. You know, it's the most important program that we have for our people. It's universal access, really, to health care for Cherokee citizens that live in the Cherokee Nation, and even many across the country will come to our health system to get some basic treatment. Building a great health system in the rural parts of the state was a challenge for us. I say us as part of Chief Baker's administration because we faced a really daunting statistic. A lot of different statistics drive healthcare in the rural areas, but the one I think that was most jarring was that most of the med schools, of course, are in metro areas of the country, including Oklahoma, and a doctor will practice within about 100 miles of where she does her residency. So if you flip the script on that and you put a medical school in Tahlequah, Chief Baker believed that we could put that stat into our favor because we would have a med school that was not only in a rural area but was immersed in a community that's the heart of the Cherokee Nation, our capital. And so he felt that was important. Oklahoma State University, of course, already had a keen focus on rural medicine, and we already partnered with them on other projects such as Operation Orange, where we get young people involved and oriented towards healthcare fields. And so it was just sort of a natural partnership. But I think that the investments that Cherokee Nation has made over the last decade into healthcare, which we did to help our people, also told something to the rest of the world, and it told something to Oklahoma State University, that we were serious about healthcare, that we didn't just talk about it, that we put significant resources into it. I think they looked at us as a valuable partner that they could build something incredible with, and that incredible thing is the med school here in Tahlequah, the Oklahoma State University Medical School at Cherokee Nation.
Former Chief Bill John Baker and Chief Hoskin both have a vision to improve the health and the lives of the Cherokee people, and that fits so well together. And as they were creating, you know, their joint venture outpatient clinic, they recognized we're going to need physicians to work in this clinic. And what better way to have, you know, a physician workforce that understands the needs of the Cherokee people than to be a partner in training.
You know, I think one reason we were able to meet the challenge and be successful so far, and of course we are still in the midst of the pandemic, we started out in a position of strength. So I mentioned that over the last decade we've been investing in healthcare. You know, our philosophy is that all of our citizens ought to have access to healthcare. That turns out to be good for the economy. It also turns out to be good for something you never see coming, and that is a pandemic. So it's good for the economy, it's good for health outcomes. It's also good for something like a pandemic. So we had a strong health system with very talented personnel all over the region that had already had protocols in place for dealing with infectious diseases. There's a tremendous amount of leadership opportunities. You know, the Cherokee Nation today if you look at where we need young people to move into career fields, it's across the board. So it's healthcare, it's business leadership, it's involvement in government leadership and management, whether it's social welfare programs or job training programs. There's opportunities to save the Cherokee language, which is, if we don't put efforts into it, it will be something for the history books, and we can't let that happen. So a young Cherokee today has more opportunity to serve their people than any time, I think, in history. And there's also a greater need for the leadership of young people coming up than any time in history. And when those two things exist, at the same period of time, then I think you've got something special. So we need young people to serve their nation, again, but they can do it in all sorts of different areas: business, law, accounting, social services, government management. The arts are critical to keep our story alive. So we have lots of different areas and lots of opportunities. If we can recruit a Cherokee anywhere in the country to come to this med school, that's a win for the Cherokee Nation, because we know what that statistic says. That statistic says the doctor will practice within about 100 miles. Odds are, anyway. And so we want to recruit the best and brightest Cherokees to work for the Cherokee Nation. The med school is one way we can do that. When we do something, we want to do it not just for today, but for generations to come. And if you think in generational terms, if you're trying to save your people for generations, then I think it's going to end up being first class. You're going to end up making healthcare a priority and building up a magnificent health system if you can amass the resources, because you're thinking, again, not just about what you can do for your people today, but what you can do for generations to come.
It's something that I have heard Chief Baker and Chief Hoskin talk about. I think it's something, a part of the Cherokee culture, of the things that we do today impact the next 7 generations. When you think about that, this is certainly something that will more than impact the next 7 generations. I mean, this will continue to go on, and you can really start to see how generation after generation, it just has this impact that is amplified.
You'll put a tremendous amount of money into college education because you're thinking ahead generations. You invest in communities, again, that the rest of the world forgot about, but you know are still important to our people because you want them to be there for generations. So I think there's something about the loss that we suffered and the grit and determination that our ancestors demonstrated that motivate us today. And if that motivates us, if that motivates any people, I think you're going to see good results.
Accepting the Leadership Oklahoma 2020 Statewide Community Award for the Cherokee Nation is Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin, Jr. Congratulations.
OCO, I want to thank Leadership Oklahoma on behalf of the Cherokee Nation for awarding us the Community Leadership Award. It's a very meaningful award because our success is your success. We work with our partners to create great opportunities in Northeast Oklahoma, whether it's investing in healthcare, investing in infrastructure, creating economic opportunity throughout rural Oklahoma. We are your partners, and this award really speaks to that philosophy. So again, I want to thank Leadership Oklahoma for what they do for this state, and we are proud to be your partner. Waddell.
The 2020 Excellence in Leadership Gala continues with Distinguished Graduate and Lifetime Achievement. Stay tuned.
The Distinguished Graduate Award recognizes a Leadership Oklahoma alumnus whose recent leadership activity has exemplified the highest standards of Leadership Oklahoma and whose activities achieved results or set an example of statewide significance. In this unconventional year of 2020, We're breaking with tradition and honoring 2 LOK graduates, each deserving on their own, but who together have made immeasurable contributions to the betterment of the state. Marnie, my Class 24 friend, and Clayton Taylor.
Clayton Taylor has always been heavily involved in community activities in Oklahoma, ranging from his early start as Oklahoma 4-H Club state president and continuing as a founder of Leadership Oklahoma, serving as president in 1991. Other leadership positions have included president and foundation chair of the Oklahoma City Rotary Club 29, the largest Rotary Club in the world, alumni president of Leadership Oklahoma City, president of the Rural Enterprise Institute of Oklahoma, administrative board chairman of St. Luke's United Methodist Church, founding chairman of Oklahoma Leadership Congress, Metropolitan Oklahoma City Library Commissioner, Mid-Continent Oil and Gas Executive Board, Board of Ballet Oklahoma, Oklahoma 4-H Foundation, and the Community Advisory Board of the Junior League. He defines a leader as someone who is dedicated to what they are trying to get done while involving others. He says that if you just do it yourself, that's not a leader. That's just a hard worker.
Marnie Taylor's involvement with LOK goes back long before Class 24, and you will hear her tell that story in a moment. Working for years as a self-described community volunteer, Marnie served on many boards before being tapped in 2011 to lead the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits as the president and CEO. Their mission is to equip and strengthen the Oklahoma nonprofit sector through training, consulting, advocacy, membership, networking, and awards. One of Oklahoma's leading governance experts, Marnie has more than 40 years of leadership in volunteerism, board service, fundraising, and community engagement. She has served on more than 30 boards of directors. Currently, she serves on the boards of the Potts Family Foundation, Remerge, Sunbeam Family Services, and the Friends of the Governor's Mansion. She currently serves as the vice chair for the National Council of Nonprofits. Marnie has been honored many times, including the Journal Records Woman of the Year in 2013, Junior League of Oklahoma City's Sustainer of the Year in 2011, and recipient of the 2018 President's Spirit of Commitment Award, Distinguished Leader by the National Association of Community Leadership. Also, Women in the News by Oklahoma Hospitality Club, Person of the Year by Notre Dame Club of Oklahoma City, and Board Member of the Year by both the Red Cross and CASA. She has received the Dare to Believe Award from Oklahoma Outreach Foundation, Dulaney Brown Library Society Award from Oklahoma City University, and the Forever Orange Award from Oklahoma State University, Oklahoma City. Most recently, she has been named the Journal Records Most Admired CEO in the nonprofit category. There are plenty more credits to her name, but one of her proudest accomplishments is climbing to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, which she did with her family. And of course, her 2 sons, Clark and Clay, along with her daughter-in-law, Becky, and their 2 grandchildren. They are the center of Marnie and Clayton's world. Marnie has also taken on the COVID-19 pandemic and worked tirelessly to make sure Oklahoma nonprofits have every tool possible, offering additional communication and training for her members.
While Marnie is a native of South Bend, Indiana, and a graduate of Notre Dame, Clayton is a proud graduate of Oklahoma State University. Luckily, Marnie likes orange and looks great in orange. They have been married for nearly 40 years. Here's a closer look at Marnie and Clayton Taylor.
I think if you're going to give this award to the first couple ever, Marnie and Clayton Taylor are the perfect choice. They are leaders. They are established leaders. They're proven leaders. They have the skills. They have the experience. And you couldn't have picked a better pair.
I got to be in one of the very early classes of Leadership Oklahoma City. We started talking about what we needed to do, and it was about how can we break down that 100-mile barrier that's between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. That's how the conversation really got started. So we loaded up a bus full of alums and went to Tulsa and met with Leadership Tulsa. And we really just started talking to our friends and getting them involved with the idea that we really wanted to train the leaders who were already around the state to be better leaders and to be more committed to Oklahoma. Because really, it was the early 80s, and so much of the motivation was we were concerned we were going to lose an entire generation of Oklahoma leaders because the economy was so bad, the oil bust, and people were just moving out of here left and right, especially the folks our age were moving out in those days. And so we said, we've got to keep these folks involved. We've got to keep them connected in Oklahoma. And we then worked for a year to decide what we really wanted to do together. And we said, if we're going to do something like this, let's not just have it be Oklahoma City and Tulsa, let's have it be the entire state. So that's what we did. And then we said, if nothing else, you'll form a network of friends around the state. And if nothing else, as you're driving around the state, if you have a flat tire, there's somebody you can call in every county seat town. And it worked.
I waited all the way till class 24. So yeah, I was, I had all the benefits of it without doing the class, as if, there's huge benefit to doing the class. But of course I went to all the alumni events and I knew all the people, I knew all the board members. But Clayton's career sometimes had unpredictable hours, and I had to be the one available to pick up kids all the time and that. But it just didn't really allow me the freedom to do the Leadership Oklahoma, because it was overnight stays and that kind of thing. I'd already done Leadership Oklahoma City, so I was deeply entrenched in leadership programs, and I knew the value of them. But all of a sudden, I looked up and I think both my children were in college or out of college, and I thought, I think I should apply. It was interesting because when I applied, I was what you might call a community volunteer. Yeah, I applied to be in class 24, and funny enough, in November of that year, I was offered my position to become the president and CEO of the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits. So it was a monumental year for me in many ways, because I had this wonderful experience of being in class 24 and at the same time deciding to become a CEO overnight, which has been an incredible, rewarding experience for me.
Clayton and Marnie Taylor are two of the best partners that I've ever worked with. They complement each other incredibly well. One is the yin to the other yang. They just match. They care so much about each other. You can tell that in everything that they do. They support each other in everything they do. I'm thinking about things like Rotary. The year that Clayton was president of the Rotary Club of Oklahoma City, Marnie was so engaged in all of the things that he was doing. Clayton is engaged in Marnie's activities. He supports everything at the Center for Nonprofits. He's always at the events. They just work like cogs in a wheel. They're almost inseparable in the way they manage everything they do, from their work lives to their civic lives to their family lives.
I think it's kind of the overall direction that we've taken. I've been very involved in my professional life in founding the Taylor Group and now Oklahoma Lobby Group 25 years ago. Being very involved in elected politics, being involved with the legislature, being involved in the community. And that's what Marnie was doing. She was serving on these not-for-profit boards. Many of the people I'm dealing with are on her boards. The people that are on her boards are then turning and coming into my world. And it just dovetailed, and we fit so well together. It was really seamless. And I always appreciated being with her, and I've never had a stronger supporter in my life than her.
I would say, if you look at the things that Oklahoma struggles with or thrives in, many of them come out of the business clients that Clayton's been privileged to represent, who have assets, who have been able to help make those things get better. And over here, I've had the a different angle on them, but all working in the same direction, and that these great nonprofits, they're out tackling all those problems. And, the companies he's representing are investing in those organizations. Those people who are serving on those boards, or those leaders are serving on the boards of these organizations. And suddenly we come home and we're talking about the same issues, just from different angles. And that's
it really shows how small Oklahoma is, because kind of the same people are involved in all these different circles. Business leaders are involved in the nonprofits, are involved in the political arena. And when you start developing those kinds of friendships, you have people that you can call on, and they call on us.
They each have a role. They each focus on certain areas, but those two things overlap and come together in a way that's just makes the whole greater than the two parts.
One of the most admirable traits is their dedication. Dedication to their family, dedication to their community, dedication to each of their respective universities, dedication to their jobs. Clayton is one of the best at what he does. Marnie has proven to be one of the best at what she does. And it's that dedication, it's the commitment to what they're doing. And those can't be overlooked when you're thinking of the qualities of a leader.
From my dad's perspective, the one thing I think that has always been ingrained in me is just honesty. From a perspective of, you have one chance to ever make a good impression, you have one chance to ever be honest, and if you ever burn somebody, that's it. So as a position of being someone in leadership, having that responsibility, carrying that weight, and understanding that you have to be honest and an honest broker at all times, because if you slip up once, that's it. You lose your credibility. So, and then my mother, thinking about my mother and what it means to be a leader to my mother and what she puts out there, I think that the only thing I can say is hard work, dedication, and perseverance. Her work ethic is, we joke about it in the family that mom works way too much, but she works harder than anybody I've ever met. And I work with my dad every day, who's one of the hardest working people I've ever met. So I can say that my mother's just unbelievable, because she puts us both to shame. So her work ethic is unbelievable, and I think that that's the leadership skill from her I've learned most, is that getting up every day and just putting the next foot in front of the other is the only thing it really takes to make a difference. So
the benefit of being married to Clayton is we have traveled around Oklahoma. He loves to show me places. We get off the beaten path and go places. But I think Leadership Oklahoma certainly gives you that experience. And but wherever you were, it was about the people. And I think it was also about the issues. I think one of the reasons we both do what we do is really the issues of Oklahoma and where the state goes, where it's been and where it's going, and where leaders need to lead it is really important to us. So I would say my memories are really about the issues that we got to discuss in the class and how it opened your eyes. And even though we were people who were fairly engaged and knew a lot, and I did because of Clayton's political involvement, I think that was, for me, the outstanding thing, is really learning about the issues and then being able to share those with people who were coming from all parts of the state, from all different backgrounds and all different political and economic perspectives of how things should get solved. So that's what stands out to me.
This is a wonderful place, but we have some real challenges. And so that's what Leadership Oklahoma is all about, is getting those people together to talk about these challenges and figuring out ways that we can improve. Still a lot of challenges out there, but so many good people, and we're just honored to be here.
Their leadership and support of our state and statewide organizations is so interwoven with who they are individually as well as a couple. Thus, the 2020 Leadership Oklahoma Distinguished Graduate Award goes to Marnie and Clayton Taylor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Brad and Robin, for being so kind with that introduction and all the things you said about us. I can't believe we're really here.
Actually, I think if you live as long as we do, Clayton, you have a resume, but that was overwhelming for both of us. Thank you so much. It's really incredible to be standing in our own backyard receiving this award when it seems like just 2 weeks ago we were sitting in our dining room talking about how excited we were to receive this award and how important it is to us.
And the award's so important because it's Leadership Oklahoma, which is so important to both of us. But most of all, I can't say how honored I am to be sharing this award with Marnie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it so much.
You know, Clayton, people approach leadership in a lot of different ways. Sometimes people just kind of dip their toe in and see where the circles go.
And look how the ripple goes out.
Look how the ripple goes.
And then sometimes you just got to commit and go all the way.
There's no retakes.
The Leadership Oklahoma 2020 Excellence in Leadership Gala continues with the Lifetime Achievement Award, coming right up.
The Lifetime Achievement Award recognizes an individual who's used his or her leadership abilities over a lifetime to improve the quality of life for Oklahoma's citizens and its future generations. This year's recipient has had an incredible career in public service. Dr. Glen D. Johnson is the Chief Executive Officer for the Oklahoma State System of Higher Education. He leads a system comprised of 25 state colleges and universities, 11 constituent agencies, 2 university centers, and independent colleges and universities coordinated with the state system. Following a national search, Glen Johnson became the 8th Chancellor of the Oklahoma State System in 2007. Before assuming the role of Chancellor, he served as the 16th President of Southeastern Oklahoma State University in Durant for 10 years. During his tenure as President at Southeastern, he implemented an $85 million capital campaign to build a new student union, residence halls, arena and convocation center, biological sciences center, a small business development center, and a new large classroom building. Dr. Johnson served as Director of Public Policy and as an adjunct professor of law at the University of Oklahoma College of Law. Prior to his work at OU, he served in the Oklahoma House of Representatives from 1982 to 1996 and was Speaker of the House from 1990 to 1996. At the time, he was the youngest sitting Speaker in the United States. The Chancellor has been recognized both statewide and nationally as a strong, untiring advocate for the funding of education, both secondary and higher education, in Oklahoma. His powerful political career was a model of success and leadership, as evidenced by the variety of his many major accomplishments, not only for his own District 24, which included Hughes, Okfuskee, and Okmulgee counties, but also in other major initiatives. He worked tirelessly for funding and improvements for the entire state of Oklahoma as Speaker of the House and chair of important legislative committees. He was also the principal House author of the landmark Quality Jobs Bill. During his term in the House, Johnson was instrumental in the passage of House Bill 1017, Oklahoma's landmark education reform legislation, and served as chair of the Appropriations and Budgets Committee and Appropriations Subcommittee in Education. He authored Senate Bill 180 in 1988 that created the Endowed Chairs Program and spearheaded the opportunity to use $14 million from the proceeds of the higher education bond issue for OneNet. In 1992, he was principal House author of House Bill 2428, the $350 million higher education bond issue. Chancellor Johnson is an honors graduate of the University of Oklahoma with an undergraduate degree in political science and a Juris Doctorate degree from the OU College of Law. He is a member of Phi Beta Kappa and currently serves on the Alpha Tau Omega Fraternity National Foundation Board of Directors. He holds memberships in numerous professional, state, and national organizations and has been the recipient of many awards and honors during his career. In 2012, he was elected to the Southern Regional Education Board and currently serves as vice chairman. In 2014, Johnson was appointed to the Association of Governing Boards of Universities and Colleges Council of Presidents. That same year, he was elected to serve on the State Higher Education Executive Officers Executive Committee. He is also a founding member of the Oklahoma Foundation for Excellence. He's a member of the Oklahoma Hall of Fame's Executive Board of Directors and was inducted into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame in November of 2006. Chancellor Johnson was inducted into the Oklahoma Higher Education Hall of Fame in 2016 and is currently a member of the Oklahoma State Fair Board of Directors. He received an honorary doctorate from Oklahoma City University in 2009 and has been named as a Life Fellow of the Fellows of the American Bar Foundation. Johnson also received the State Higher Education Executive Officers Exceptional Leadership Award in July of 2019. Glen Johnson is highly deserving of this prestigious recognition for a lifetime of outstanding service to the citizens of Oklahoma. Here's Chancellor Johnson telling his story along with a few close friends.
I think it's earned, and I think it's earned through hard work. I think certainly there are some that have just the innate ability to be leaders, and that evolves. You see that early in a person's life. But even if you have that, my experience is there's just so many qualities that need to come together for you to be an effective leader. You need to be a good team player. You need to not ask your team members to do things that you wouldn't do yourself. You need to be a good communicator. It's important that you have, the word vision is kicked around a lot, but that you have a goal and you have a predetermined plan, and that you have the ability to convince others that this is a good direction for the group to go or for the association to go.
Got to meet Glen, it was in 1995-ish, and I was the chairman of the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce, and Glen was the speaker. And he was, from the very beginning, the very first meeting, open, receptive, interested, engaged, and helpful. We worked together on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. We got very engaged in the Hall of Fame as it kind of moved into the modern era. We brought Glen onto the State Fair Board, which I've been a part of for a long time. And he's a loyal, dutiful member, never misses, attends, has input. Just a constructive, positive, helpful person. Thinks about what can we do? What's good? How do we get there? How do we work together? It's just kind of how he's wired.
I was always elected class officer, usually class president, but probably in grade school and early high school, as much as that, it was the other activities. You know, we would have entertainment groups at school, and I was always very involved in that. My musical ability peaked when I was in about 7th grade. We had, I guess, what could be viewed as a grade school rock group. I played the guitar. We played all the songs in the mid-'60s and late '60s that were easy to play if you didn't have a lot of talent. I played the sports. I wasn't the team captain or anything, but I always did my part there. Both in grade school and high school, I was involved in the school newspaper. So high school, involved in student council and a lot of activities. And then, of course, at college, at the University of Oklahoma, I was very involved in my fraternity, president of my fraternity. I was involved in a lot of campus activities and some of the student government efforts there. So it's just been something that I was exposed to government growing up.
I like to see people who have prepared for what they do in their lives, and I don't know of any person more equipped and prepared than Glen Johnson. Started in the House of Representatives, became the chair of appropriations, speaker, then moved to OU and working with public policy, then to Southeastern as president, then to the chancellor's office. Nobody could be better prepared than Glen Johnson. I would speculate he planned it that way. I think that's a family trait that he has.
I guess it was shortly after I got out of law school, but I found it applicable to working as a lawyer. Certainly decisions you have to make in elective office, and frankly decisions that I've had to make as a university president and as a chancellor. He said, if you've got to make a decision, there's no reason to get rushed into it. Know what your timetable is. Use your time to gather the information and make sure you've got your eye on the clock. And seek different views and different opinions as you're trying to form the basis for your decision. Once you do that, make a studied and objective decision. And when you do that, if you feel good about it, don't look back. Don't second guess it, but move forward with the conviction that you studied the issue and you made a solid decision. Don't let others rush you into it. And I found that particularly helpful when I was in the legislature, because you've got so many issues. You've got those that want to know what you're going to do, but ultimately I always looked upon that as I had to make a decision for my district, 33,000 people in the district, and as speaker for the state. And I took that seriously. Again, didn't rush into it, but weighed the options and then always tried to make what I thought was the best decision for the individuals that I'd been entrusted to represent.
He's a master legislator, and he could always get to a reasonable compromise or a deal, something that gave him what he needed and what his caucus needed, but something that also the governor could accept as something that was worthwhile and move the state forward. So that ability is a very rare thing in politics, probably much rarer today than it was then. But to be able to work across party lines, to actually put the good of the public ahead of a partisan goal or principle, and to strike a reasonable compromise is something that Glen Johnson just always has been able to do. It's what made him a great legislator, but I think it also was a skill that made him a great academic leader as well. There's nothing tougher than trying to lead a bunch of smart people, because they all think they have a better idea than you do.
I think there's been one person that particularly early in my professional career was a great role model, and that's former U.S. Speaker of the House, Carl Albert. When we were in Washington, D.C., I interacted with him some, but as I got back and went to college and law school and then ran for office, by that time he was retired, but he would reach out and we would talk. He was a great mentor. He certainly was a sounding board for me early in my career.
I admire his work ethic. I admire his ethical behavior towards everyone, his ability to build relationships with so many different people, and his incredible memory. He can tell you stories for month and year that relate to whatever topic you're talking to, and I always enjoy his storytelling.
I think the thing I know we share together is just the fun love of Oklahoma. We love to talk about Oklahoma and the people of Oklahoma and great stories of Oklahoma. He's mainly telling them, I'm mainly listening because he knows them.
You know, probably his greatest contribution as chancellor was frankly holding the system together during a period of tremendous budgetary turmoil and keeping it moving forward, making it the excellent system that it is. To do that while the state legislature is cutting your budget by 25% or so is an extraordinary accomplishment.
I think he's done a good job with the resources that have been available. For anyone to succeed grandly, they have to have funding. And he has dealt as effectively as possible with the lack of funding. But focusing on Oklahoma Promise, focusing on our scholarship funds, well, that's very impactful because it allows research that would not otherwise have taken place.
funding for students has been important to him. As a legislator, he started work on the Endowed Chair program. He's worked on Oklahoma's Promise to help students from economic backgrounds that might not have the opportunity to attend college. In the legislature, he helped with that program, and we continue to build that program now. So there's ties. He's been consistent throughout his career. No matter what his role is, he's cared about the students of Oklahoma.
As you have your conversations with the Lord, it's important to say thank you. You always need to think about, when you're doing things, how those decisions impact others, and be cognizant that decisions you make do have significant impacts on other people in their lives. And I've always tried to be aware of that, and to be understanding that when you're entrusted with responsibility, you need to take that seriously, because you are making decisions that are greatly impacting lives of many other people. I've always tried to follow that when I make decisions.
The 2020 Leadership Oklahoma Lifetime Achievement Award goes to Chancellor Glen D. Johnson.
I am deeply honored and humbled to receive the Lifetime Achievement Award from Leadership Oklahoma, a group that's been at the forefront in providing a strong foundation for developing business and government leaders in Oklahoma for the last 3 decades. I've been very fortunate in my career to have spent my time on 2 of my passions, public service and higher education. During my service as a member of the Okemah Board of Education, my 14 years as a member and speaker of the Oklahoma House of Representatives, I never wavered in my belief that public service and elective office was a very noble calling, and that public service requires all of us to be active participants in the process if it's going to be effective and responsive to the needs of our state. I served my final day in the legislature in November of 1996 with the same enthusiasm and zeal that I had when I was first elected in 1982 at the age of 28. I felt that it was an honor and a privilege to represent almost 4 million Oklahomans in making life-changing decisions that had a major impact on the future of our state. I was very fortunate to have been involved or to have authored a number of the significant pieces of legislation from that era, from the passage of House Bill 1017, the major education reform bill, to the Endowed Chairs Bill, the Quality Jobs Bill, and the 1992 $350 million higher education bond issue. I've spent the last 24 years of my life in higher education as an adjunct faculty member, as a university president, and for the past 13 years as chancellor and system head of our state system of higher education. I've had the privilege to work with the presidents of our colleges and universities who provide extraordinary leadership on a daily basis on their campuses, especially in the wake of significant budget challenges and COVID-19. This Lifetime Achievement Award is particularly significant and meaningful to me because it is a selection and recognition by Leadership Oklahoma, an organization that's had a very significant impact on both state and business leadership and policy developments in our state for the last 30 years. I've had the great fortune to serve as system head and chancellor for a very forward-thinking, mission-oriented constitutional board, the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education. During my time as system head and chancellor of our system, the members of the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education have been visionary. They've anticipated critical events where we've been able to strategically plan before we have to react, and they've certainly been resolute and tough when they've needed to be. I'm proud of the fact that as a higher education system, we have implemented a bold agenda for Oklahoma higher education. Knowing the importance of additional college degrees to Oklahoma's economy, in 2011, our state system joined Complete College America in order to increase college degree production in our state by 67% by the year 2023. I'm pleased to report that we've exceeded our goals each year since 2011. We have successfully advocated to our legislature to establish a permanent funding source for our Oklahoma's Promise College Access Scholarship in order to ensure that all scholarships that our students have earned are paid in full and on time. Dr. Stephen Pruitt, the president of the Southern Regional Education Board, or SREB, who is with us today virtually, recently reported that the Oklahoma's Promise Scholarship was the best college access program in the nation. The Oklahoma's Promise Scholarship has provided opportunities for a college degree to over 90,000 Oklahoma students since the scholarship was created in 1992 by the legislature during my time as Speaker. We've expanded and strengthened our efforts in the area of adult degree completion, recognizing that adult students who have stopped out from their college career at some point due to family, personal, or income-related reasons, that they have very dramatically different needs than the needs of a student going directly from high school to college, and we've implemented a number of initiatives to address those needs for adult students and students returning from our military who want to continue their college education or start it after they've served our country. We've worked tirelessly with the legislature to achieve full funding for our concurrent enrollment program, where high school juniors and seniors can take courses for college credit. Concurrent enrollment is a key initiative that significantly drives additional college degrees in our state. It shortens the time to earn a college degree. It gets high school students into the mindset that they can take college-level work and succeed. And very importantly, it saves parents money. Finally, while our counterparts in neighboring states have been unsuccessful in doing so, we're pleased that we have worked aggressively and successfully to keep weapons off our college and university campuses for the past 10 consecutive legislative sessions. I want to thank the love of my life, my best friend, and a proud member of Leadership Oklahoma Class 12, my wife Melinda, for being there for me and for her complete support as we continue our journey in life together. We just celebrated our 27th wedding anniversary on July 10th. I love you, Melinda. I also want to thank my parents, Glen and Imogene Johnson, for providing me with the foundation and the grounding that I've always tried to follow in my life. My parents were members of Tom Brokaw's greatest generation, the World War II generation. My mother was the finest person that I've ever known, who taught me to be compassionate, to always be a good team player, to give proper credit to the team, and finally, even though some of my career choices have involved contact sports like the legal arena and elective office, she taught me to always understand the impact of my words and actions on others that were in the arena with me. I never really got to say thank you to my dad, so I will do that today. He died in 1983, shortly after my first election to the state legislature. My dad was a member of the Oklahoma legislature, a United States congressman, and an officer, a major in World War II who was stationed in France. He taught me that it was okay to stand up and stand tall, and to not back down and to go against the grain and against the crowd if I strongly believed that it was the right thing to do. He taught me to conduct myself in a way where I would be respected by my colleagues and friends. He taught me that there really was no substitute for hard work on anything that was truly important. And he told me not to be or to expect to be given anything, but to earn the things that come your way. I think my parents would be proud of their son today. As I accept this Lifetime Achievement Award from Leadership Oklahoma, I will never lose sight of the fact that as head of our higher education system in Oklahoma, I've been entrusted with a job and the accompanying responsibilities that play an absolutely critical part in shaping and determining and in implementing higher education's role and our footprint in our state. Recently, a student asked me to very specifically describe to her what a chancellor actually does on a daily basis and what skill set the job of a chancellor requires, because, as she told me, I might want to be a chancellor someday. So after some brief thought and reflection, I told her that first and foremost, a chancellor should have the ability to be a fairly capable and effective CEO in order to have the wherewithal to implement the goals and objectives of your Board of Regents, or if you're not able to do that, you will immediately stall in the starting gate. Second, I told her that you need to have credibility and a strong and sincere belief in the academic space to be able to effectively make the case that our research effort and our faculty are the lifeblood and the backbone of our system of higher education. A chancellor should be student-focused and student-centered in everything that he or she does, because the students are the reason that we're here. Certainly, it's important to have a strong background and an in-depth understanding in the financial arena, which is more important today than it's ever been. I told her that you need to be a very persuasive and forceful communicator about the value of higher education with the governor, with the legislature, with the media, with the business community, and with other external stakeholders. You need to be a tough and a fair negotiator with the state and federal agencies that interact with you. It's important to be a colleague and a good friend with the college and university presidents and to make sure that they know that you always have their back. I told her that you should strive at every opportunity to be a vocal advocate and an aggressive champion for the importance of higher education with the citizens of our state. You should also understand that you are a public servant in the very best sense of that word. You should enjoy traveling in airplanes and cars because you will certainly do this a lot, and it's a good idea to enjoy eating most of your meals in public and participating in lengthy public ceremonies like this one today. Finally, in the words of Dr. Clark Kerr, longtime president of University of California, Berkeley, he said it's also good to have a good sense of humor and to try to be a decent human being. To those who have dedicated their professional life to higher education and to our students, we understand that we have a critically important responsibility to prepare and to educate the next generation of leaders in virtually every career field. Public higher education is that one medium where if a student has the ability to achieve, if they work hard, if they put their shoulder to the wheel, they can achieve their dream of a college education. It's our collective responsibility to give those students the access, the financial support, and the vehicle to achieve their dreams. With all of the challenges that we face today, and there are many, in the final analysis, we know that we're engaged in vitally important work in higher education. It's work that on a daily basis changes lives and significantly determines the future direction of our state. So I believe it's important that we pledge that our work will continue, our cause will endure, and the obligation and responsibility that each of us has to make sure that we maximize every opportunity to provide our students with the tools that they need to succeed in their careers and in their lives. This is a responsibility that should be central to every decision that we make in higher education. I will do everything that I can to earn the respect that this Leadership Oklahoma Lifetime Achievement Award embodies. Thank you.
This concludes the 2020 Excellence in Leadership Gala from Leadership Oklahoma. We'd like to once again thank both the Gala sponsors and the multi-year sponsors. Congratulations again to all of the award recipients. We hope you enjoyed this virtual presentation, and we hope you join us in person in 2021.